everybody, and welcome back to the B Movies Podcast, your place beyond the pines for all the latest movie news, reviews, and whatnot. My name is William BIBBIANI. I'm the film channel editor at Crave Online. Everyone calls me Bibbs.
My name is Whitney SEIBOLD. I contribute to Crave Online, and people don't bother to call me at all.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad these days.
And we are here with a very special video installment of the show with director Derek Cianfrance from The Place Beyond the Pines.
Woo!
Check out the clip.
Roll the clip, Jerry.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Luke and the Heartthrob.
Romina here?
Who's that guy?
He's yours.
What can you tell me?
I heard from you in over a year. You just took off.
My son and I should be around him. I wasn't around my dad. Look the way I turned out.
And we're back. Doesn't that look awesome? It's like we actually just watched that and then
The
just
whole
cut to
movie,
it.
yeah.
Right. We're here with director Derek Cianfrance. Derek, thank you for joining us.
Thanks. Thanks for having me here.
All right. So The Place Beyond the Pines is a movie.
It is a movie.
And you directed it.
Yep.
What was that like?
It was beautiful. It's beautiful. Whenever I get to make a movie, it's like a vacation.
Yeah.
You know? I feel like I lived my whole life just trying to get on set, you know? I feel like the process of writing to me is like dreaming. I feel like the process of shooting a movie is like living. It's the only time I'm really alive. And then the process of editing is like murder.
Yeah.
What's the process of marketing like?
Marketing?
Yeah.
Well, I made my first student feature. It was called Brother Tide, you know, when I was 20 years old. I went around, you know, went to Sundance with it in 1998. You know, went to a lot of different places, but no one wanted to talk to me about it. I'd go into screenings, there'd be 6 people in the theater. And after that experience, I was like in the cinematic desert for 12 years. You know, I couldn't make a movie. So to me, marketing a film is, I'm never going to complain about it, you know, because I feel like if people are interested, maybe that means the movie will get seen, and maybe that means I'll make more movies. I won't have to wait another 12 years, you know.
Yeah.
I've heard that happens in like festivals a lot. People go there with their films. Everybody encourages them to show it. People show it, nobody sees it. And then you're encouraged to death, essentially.
Yeah. Well, and there's an implication that because you're at Sundance, your movie is guaranteed to get picked up and seen, and that's not necessarily true.
Well, I will say though, when my first film went to Sundance, but you know, back then, you know, my phone rang that day. You know what I mean? People were interested. I eventually made a contact. I met this guy, Jack Lechner, who was at Miramax at the time, and he loved the movie. He was one of the few people that saw the movie. And when I moved out to New York, he gave me my first job directing documentaries.
Yeah.
And kind of then developed Blue Valentine. We could never get it made for all these 12 years, but he kind of gave me a little, you know, window of opportunity. So it does, you know, you have to show, you know, if you make a film, what you want to do is, you know, if you reach, you know, want to show, you know, want one person to see it, you know, one person besides yourself to see it. So, you know, it's worth it. Just, you know, it's a blessing when your audience is larger.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting to me because, and we're going to talk at some length about The Place Beyond the Pines and get into some of the details and some spoiler territory in a follow-up episode, so stick around. But I would like to talk to you about the way that this movie is being presented to people.
Yeah.
Because it is, in the trailer, it's Ryan Gosling, and he's cool, and he's got this red jacket, and he's going to steal money. And that is interesting to me because the movie isn't quite as action-packed as that. Do you feel like that's what we need to get people into the theaters to see the film and get what you're getting at?
You know, I don't cut the trailer. I like the trailer that Focus cut for the film. I think
I'm not decrying it.
But I mean, here's the thing. Like, one of my heroes is George Romero. You know, and I think this movie is very much. You know, I think I watched his movies so much as a kid. I think I internalized them. It wasn't setting out to make it, but I think that this movie is very much like Creepshow in the terms of its kind of vignetted storytelling, episodic story, nature. I think it's a lot like Dawn of the Dead in terms of its kind of subversiveness. That, you know, on the surface it looks like a zombie movie, but really it's this you know, critique of capitalism and consumer society. You know, and then it's a lot like Night of the Living Dead because it's you know, it's a movie that kind of feels real. You know what I mean? And we made with just like bare bones approach to do it. So you know. the genre elements of this movie are very much present. I mean, to me, the action scenes in this movie, to me, are, you know, they're death-defying. You know what I mean? They're incredibly dangerous because they actually were. There's real things happening in this movie, but those action scenes to me are as thrilling as the emotional scenes too, because there's as much danger for a performer, you know, who has to crash his bike at 75 miles an hour as there is for a performer who has to, you know, go to you know, a deep, dark place in their psyche, you know. And you know, that's what I'm trying to do as a filmmaker. I'm trying to make, you know, very personal films, but also films that are for, you know, for audiences. So if, you know, marketing needs to, you know, it's you know, this movie is built with motorcycles and chases and cops versus robbers, but it's also, you know, kind of a deep generational, you know, family drama.
Yeah. What was the first thing you came up with for A Place Beyond the Pines? What was the seed for this big tree?
I saw Napoleon by Abel Gance 20 years ago, and everything about that movie blew me away. But the ending of the movie, the triptych, you know, the 3 screens going on at the same time, I just, for 20 years, I wanted to make a triptych movie. I didn't know what form it was going to take on, you know. I just wanted to make a triptych movie. And then also 20 years ago, I saw Psycho for the first time. And I had always known there was a shower scene in Psycho, but I never knew that you got to spend 45 minutes with Janet Leigh before she went in the shower. And then there was this amazing baton pass to Tony Perkins. And, you know, so I had this form of the triptych. I have this structure of Psycho, of these baton passes, you know, for 20 years swimming around my head. All my notebooks had this idea. I had this thing called the Holy Trinity. I didn't know what it was, though. And then in 2007, I was was reading Jack London. I couldn't stop reading Jack London's books.
Who can?
Yeah, who can stop reading that?
Right.
And my wife was pregnant with our second son, and I was thinking about legacy. I was thinking about everything that I was born with and everything I was going to pass on to my, you know, my boy that was coming into the world. And I was, you know, just really wanting him to be born pure, you know what I mean, and clean. And I felt like, you know, I had been, you know, I grew up Catholic, so I'm like, you know, racked with sin, you know,
you and me both.
And guilt. And,
not so much Whitney.
Yeah, and
I grew up Protestant. I'm okay.
You didn't? You're okay. Anyway, I didn't want him to have all my bad choices. I wanted him to come into the world, make his own choices, carve his own path. And all of a sudden, I had a movie that was about legacy, and I had a movie that was about the passing of this torch, the passing of a fire between generation to generation, and the movie came to me immediately. I originally had conceived it as a Western, and I met my co-writer Ben Cochio at the Donut Pub in New York City, and I told him this idea about generations and legacy, and he was like, yeah, he loved it. He said, but he says, I think we should modernize it. Why don't we use motorcycles instead of horses? You know, we could still have the long-suffering women, but we'll just put them in modern households. I said, you know, and it made a lot of sense to me. And so we started writing it, you know. That was like 6 years ago, and 37 drafts later, you know, I was on the playing field. Yeah, I found out he was from Schenectady, and that's where my wife was from. And I found out his favorite movie was Goodfellas, and that was my favorite movie. So we agreed. We shook hands that day. We said, let's do a movie. Let's come up with the, you know, the groundwork for this movie. We're going to tell a story about legacy. It's going to be told in 3 parts, and we agreed we'd do it in chronological order. We agreed we would not shuffle the order. We would not put the movie in a blender. Look, I had already.
It's kind of gimmicky.
Well, yeah, but I mean, look, I did it with Blue Valentine. Parallel editing is a very cinematic way to tell stories. You know, it's been going on since Griffith. You know what I mean, with Intolerance. You know, it's a powerful tool, but this movie was about lineage, and so we felt it needed to be linear.
And it gives you, when you're not intercutting, when you don't do flashback structure, it also makes the film feel more epic. Because you really feel the passage of time throughout the entire thing.
Yeah, we thought that the choice of chronology would be the bravest choice. And then we also agreed we'd shoot it in Schenectady, which is where he was from, where my wife is from, and then we agreed we'd write a role for Ray Liotta.
Someone had to.
Someone had to.
Yeah. He's so good.
Poor Ray Liotta seems to be the, in movies these days, it's like the one jerk that everybody has to stay away from.
Yeah.
But he's so good at it.
He's really good at it. No, he's fantastic.
You know, the thing about Ray is he's a beautiful man. I think someday they're going to carve his face in the mountaintops, you know. I think he's a national treasure. I will say that he is like a human knife, though, and he has an edge to him, which is not his heart and soul is, he's such a kind guy. But, you know, I introduced him to my 4-year-old boy, and within 30 seconds, my son was crying, you know? And I was like...
What did he just look at him? Was he like...
Just he's got an intensity to him. He's got a way to... and all I could think about was, I can't wait to get him at a dinner table with Bradley Cooper. You know what I mean? To see what he can do in a scene. And to me, for a filmmaker like me who... You know, look, when I get on set, I'm loathing myself. I'm so sick of my words. You know what I mean? I'm so sick of my ideas. I want actors to come on board and fail greatly, and I want them to surprise me, and I want them to make it alive. I don't want them to do what I've done. You know what I mean? So to have an actor like Ray Liotta come on set and sit at a table with other actors, he throws everyone off center. All of a sudden, everyone is... You know what I mean? If they had any preconceived notion about what the film was going to be about at that moment, they can't do it because he's challenging everyone. You can't put out anything into the world. You can't say something to Ray without him. Like, he really listens to you, you know. And you can't just you know, you can't be you know. There's no passivity with him. You know what I mean? He's purely engaged. He's one of our great actors. And for a filmmaker like me to have him come into a scene and unnerve the whole world is a gift, you know.
Yeah. Now you've worked with Ryan Gosling before in Blue Valentine, so I imagine one imagines
another
getting
great actor you get to work with. More
right.
now.
Yes.
And you imagine that getting him would be kind of easy. To be like you just sort of look at him and go nod, and he goes, and then you're making a movie. But tell me about and if that's not what it's like, tell me what it's like. But like, tell me about getting the rest of this cast. How did you get Eva Mendes for this? Who was an interesting journey to cast?
You want me to tell you how I got Ryan?
Tell me how you got Ryan.
Okay, I'll start with
Or
that.
how did Ryan get you?
How did Ryan get me, exactly. Yeah. I was at his agent's house in 2007. Ben and I had been writing this for about 6 months, and we were, you know, this was before we shot Blue Valentine, and we were talking all about Blue Valentine, and I started saying, man, you've done so much in your life, you know, what haven't you done that you've wanted to do? And he says, well, I always wanted to rob a bank. He says, but I've been too scared of jail. I said, well, that's funny. We're writing a movie about a bank robber. I said, have you given it any thought how you would do it? And he says, well, I thought I would do it on a motorcycle. He says, because I could go in with a helmet and disguise my identity. He says, then motorcycles are fast and agile, so I could get out of tight spots, you know. And he says, then I'd have a U-Haul truck parked about 4 blocks away, and I'd drive the motorcycle into the back of the truck, and the cops would be looking for a motorcycle, not a U-Haul truck.
Okay, he's done it. We know now that he's done it.
He's done this.
He's put a lot of thought
into
this.
He's method. He's good.
He's But here's the thing. It's exactly what Ben and I had written into the script. So it was destiny. Yeah. So I told him, I said, look, I'll make your dreams come true. But that's how it felt with Ryan and I making these films. There was no, it was just meant to be.
Right. I want to go up to Ryan and just say, I'll make your dreams come true.
Yeah, you should do that.
But tell me about the rest of this casting process, because you got an amazing cast in this movie.
Yeah, Ava, you know, I didn't know who was going to play that role. Ryan actually suggested her to me. He says, why don't you look at Ava? And I was like, yeah, why don't I think? I've always thought she's been great in movies. And she came to an audition, and she was wearing these like high-waist 1990s jeans, a big baggy T-shirt, big hoop earrings. Her hair was a mess. She had black lip liner around her lips. She was trying her hardest to be unattractive.
Right.
And of course she was failing miserably.
Yeah.
But it meant so much to me that she was doing that. I was like, man, let's not read today. Is there something else you want to do? She says, well, I could take you for a ride. I said, okay, let's go. So she took me for a ride around her neighborhood. She showed me.
Okay.
If Eva Mendes comes up to me in like early '90s chola look and says, "Want to go for a ride?"
You're going for a ride.
You're going for a ride.
You're going to get in the car.
I just thought there's a car involved. I was like, whoa.
No, this is.
Okay. So where did you? Sorry, where did you go on this ride?
She took me around her past. You know, she took me around her neighborhood where she grew up. She took me to, showed me the elementary school she went to, and I learned about this woman, and I learned about her heart and her soul and who she was as a human being, and I fell in love with her as a person. And it's not to say that she didn't have a certain fear of the character, but I don't relate to actors who are overly confident. I don't relate to actors who are fearless. I don't like the X Games. I don't get that. You know what I mean? No fear stickers. I'm scared. And I relate to actors that are scared. And to me, that's the definition of courage. Courage is not the absence of fear, but it's the presence of fear and confronting it anyway. And so I felt like with her, she could be great in the movie.
That's something I really admired about the movie, is that it's not demonstrative, it's not really showy. Everybody is very sort of turned in. Ryan Gosling is known for that sort of performance. And it was neat to see people like Bradley Cooper, who's usually so effervescent and charming, kind of turned inward a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, when I first met Bradley, I had no idea he was going to play that role, you know, of Avery. And they're like, hey, how about you meet with Bradley Cooper? And I was like, you know, who, the guy from The Hangover? You know, and this is before Silver Linings, you know, that he shot this film. And, you know, I sat down and met with him. And the moment I met with him, I had a kinship with him. And it was because he felt like he was wrestling with something. On the outside, he had this perfection, American hero. You know what I mean? Boy next door, people's sexiest man, whatever you want to say. But inside, there was something going on. And I recognized that in him, some kind of storm inside of him. And I rewrote the character of Avery specifically for Bradley. And I was, you know, hoping that the audience, you know, could have the same kind of misconception that I did. And I was dealing with a character that was paraded around as a hero, but didn't feel that way. You know, felt corrupted inside, felt a toxic shame. And I felt like Bradley could really do that, could play this internal guy who was on the outside, everything was fine, moralistic, but inside, corrupted, you know.
What was the character like before you rewrote it for him?
I just didn't have, it just wasn't clear. It was two-dimensional. You know what I mean? When he came on board, it became clear. And honestly, I rewrote it for him, gave him the script, and I think it you know, we went to some really dark places with him, you know, went to some deep places with him. And he's playing this morally gray character. But, you know, and Bradley got scared. Or I don't know about scared, but he said, I don't know if I can do your movie. I said, where are you now? He says, I'm in Montreal shooting the words. I said, okay, well, I can be there in 5 hours. I'll see you at 11 o'clock tonight. And I showed up in Montreal. He was shooting a scene of the words. They had the street blocked off. They had all these New York City taxi cabs in Montreal. They had a giant rain machine. They had an 80-foot jib arm that was like going 2 lanes of traffic across the street. And I saw Bradley getting into a limousine. You know what I mean? Like 3 takes getting into a limousine. And I was very eager to work with him and to introduce him to my process of making films. And I had dinner with him, and I told him, look, I don't know heroes in my real life. I don't know villains in my real life. I don't know the black and white world. I know the gray world. And that's the kind of people I'm trying to put up on the screen. And for 4 hours we talked. And for 3 hours and 45 minutes, I think he was not going to do the movie. I think I must have exhausted him in that last 15 minutes. You know, he just wanted to go to sleep, you know. But he agreed to do the movie, and I think gave such a brave performance. Well, I mean, once he was there, he committed to it, and was just it was such a gift to work with. And as with Ryan, who was like, you know, such a key collaborator with me, Bradley is like my partner in telling the story. You know, he's the guy who's brave where I'm a coward. You know what I mean? I can write from a point of instigation, from a point of like personal vulnerability, and then I give these characters to actors, and they have to actually do it. They actually have to be that. So, and he did it. Never, you know, but again, he had that resistance. But to me, an actor that has resistance, you know, they're going to be great because they can tap into those fears.
I'd like to talk to you about some of the more technical aspects of the movie, because you have a lot of motorcycle stunts. There's a good opening bit where it just follows Ryan Gosling from his trailer into the circus tent and then into this huge sphere where
the stunt motorcycle ball or whatever it was.
Yeah, and everyone's like going around like in a centrifugal force. I don't even know how to describe it.
It's called the Globe of Death.
The Globe of Death.
Which is...
I've seen that at circuses before.
I don't go to the circus, so this is new to me. Tell me about the Globe of Death. Tell me about filming. And did you like cowboy him into that, like when he just sort of, or is that Ryan doing the stunt?
There's 22 people in America that can do the Globe of Death stunt, and Ryan is not one of them. It takes about 2 years.
Oh, the romance is dead.
It takes about 2 years to do it, but my cinematographer, Sean Bobbitt, and I knew we needed to start the film off with an epic opening shot, you know, because the film was so large in scope. We thought, look, I feel like the first 5-10 minutes of any movie, you kind of teach the audience how you want them to watch. And for this opening, we wanted to teach them to be active, to be engaged, and to really be a participant. You know, I want audiences' imagination to be turned on when they're watching a movie. I have to say that I had got a call. My original DP for this movie was going to be Andre Perec, who shot Blue Valentine, shot Sugar, Half Nelson, Cold Souls. He's a great DP. Great performers DP. Every movie he's made, there's like great performances in them. Yeah. Andre called me about 8 weeks out of production and was crying. And I was like, what's wrong? He's like, I had a dream I died last night making the movie. I was like, oh no. He's like, I don't think I can make your movie anymore. I was like, hey man, it's just a dream, you know? It's not real.
That's what they told Richie Valens in La Bamba.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Really?
Well, don't you remember La Bamba? He always dreamt he died in a plane crash.
Was that real life or just the movie?
I don't know, but it was in the movie, and so that's why I always take nightmares dead seriously.
I think that's apocryphal, but they actually dreamed about it. But it was in the movie. It was in La Bamba.
Don't destroy my fantasies. Yeah, but he was seriously concerned about this. This really affected him.
And he said, look, I got a kid now. I can't do it. I can't risk that. If I saw it, I was like, okay. So I went and found interviewed other DPs. I interviewed Sean Bobbitt, who had shot Hunger, which I thought was so beautiful. Steve McQueen's Hunger, and Sean asked me. He says, "What's wrong with your movie? Why is your DP dropping out 8 weeks out of production?" I said, "Well, he dreamed he was going to die making it." And there was some silence, and I said, "Do you think you're going to die making the movie?" And he says, "Silly boy." He says, I was a war photographer for 8 years. I'm not going to die making your movie." And I was like, okay, would you make it? Would you please do it? I felt like that warrior spirit was what I needed to make the movie. And he's like, yeah. So we designed this opening shot, which was this long take, which would go from a trailer through an active fair into this tent, where he'd get on the motorcycle. We'd have to do this Texas switch, because Ryan couldn't do that. It's a secret in the film. You can see it if you watch it, I'm sure. But it's a bit of movie magic. And then Sean at the end of the take insisted that he went to the center of the cage. I said, well, Sean, that's crazy. There's going to be 3 motorcycles in this cage, And he was like, no, we must end in the center. He's like, okay, just protect yourself. So he put on a helmet. And he's not a small guy. He's a man of stature. He put on full on armor, body armor, and had a camera. He looked like a RoboCop with a camera, And he did this amazing shot, through the fair. Ryan went into the cage. The cage closes. You see the throttles revving. Motorcycle starts spinning around, and I'm watching on my monitor, hiding behind a bleacher. It's just magic, And all of a sudden, my monitor goes static, and I hear a gasp from the crowd, and I look up, and there's a pile of motorcycles with Sean Bobbitt on the bottom of them.
Oh dear!
And whatever. We pulled the motorcycles off,
right?
And Sean was so angry. I was like, he was angry at himself for not getting the shot. And I said, man, look at the bright side. You're still alive. I thought that Andre's dream had come true and Sean had died making the movie. I said, stay outside the cage for the next shot. We'll get it that way. And Sean says, no, we must go to the center. I was like, you're going to get killed. He says, no, we must go to the center.
Some Herzog crap there.
Yes, he's a cinema warrior. And so we did the whole take again. Somehow he improved it. I'm watching in my monitor. The motorcycles are spinning around him in the second take. It was like better than the first take. All of a sudden, my monitor goes static again. I hear a gasp from the crowd. I look up, a motorcycle stalls in midair and drops on his head. Knocks him out. We have to cancel production that night. He goes to bed, About 3 in the morning, we get a phone call from the front desk at the Holiday Inn. And they're saying, there's this guy walking around in his bathrobe. He's asking for tomatoes. Do you know who this guy is? And so he had to go to the emergency room. He had a concussion. Came back the next night, not really ready, to shoot again, and so grumpy, incredibly grumpy because
that would do it.
So. Yes.
Yeah.
And still insisting on going to the center of the cage, and I refused to let him go in. And to this day, he won't return my phone calls.
Because you didn't let him risk his life.
Because you didn't kill him.
I didn't let him go in the center of the cage. But, that when doing stunt, look, if Blue Valentine was noted for anything, it was for its kind of honesty or kind of frank take on sexuality. And so now I'm making more of a genre movie. And I felt like I wanted it to be as honest or as true or as the sex was in Blue Valentine. I wanted it to be these action scenes. I wanted them to be really happening. I wanted them to have a danger to them. Right. At the same time, I'm aware of Vic Morrow. Do you know what I mean? And I don't want to, I'm interested in blurring the line between fact and fiction between performance and reality, but you know what I mean? I want everyone to be safe, but I want it to be dangerous. So there was just a lot of preparation, and I didn't want to change my shooting style. I wanted to keep these long takes. I feel like in unbroken takes, you can't lie. You know what I mean? You have to really do things. My reference point for a lot of the chase scenes was Cops or America's Wildest Police Chases.
Yeah, you do. And there's a big chase towards the middle of the movie where Ryan's escaping the police. And normally in that scene we'd be with Ryan the whole time because he's the hero. He's the focus of our attention. But you keep everything in the police car.
Backseat of the police car.
And it's interesting because you're also about to sort of shift the movie in a different direction, so it kind of eases you into that. But it also makes it feel very realistic because we were used to that footage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you're used to that footage. Everyone has seen Cops and America's Wildest Police Chases, so you know if we're doing a stunt at 35 miles an hour that it's full of shit.
Right.
Excuse my language.
Don't ever excuse your language.
sorry.
No. Keep that in.
Okay, sorry. My mom's got to watch this.
Oh.
Hi, Mom.
Sorry. He's lovely. He's the nicest guy.
Lovely, talented,
You did a
thoughtful
very
fellow.
good job.
So you seem to be a very kind of, if I can sort of skew pretentious, you're very instinctual. You seem to just know which actors you want. Is there any sort of times during the filmmaking process when you feel like you have to sort of push through something artificial that you don't necessarily want in order to get the film made? In essence, is there anything you're just unhappy with about the filmmaking process?
No.
Especially with The Place Beyond the Pines.
No, look, anytime you make a film, you have to fight for what you are believing in. You know, I remember for that scene you were talking about in the car.
Yeah.
It's the introduction to Bradley Cooper's character. It's a couple-minute long shot. It goes at 75 miles an hour. It's from the passenger seat of his cop car. And I remember I took my producers on the day of our tech scout. I said, here's the shot. And we walked 4 blocks in this neighborhood. It took us about 12 minutes to walk. At 75 miles an hour, it's about 2 minutes, 90 seconds, whatever. But we were walking and walking. I was telling them the shot. And at the end of it, I was breathless with excitement for it. You know what I mean? Because I could really see it. And they were radio silence. They were just I was like, what is wrong with you guys? Because they had to figure out a way that we were actually going to really do it, There was logistics involved. We had to put a crew member inside every one of those houses to make sure no kids ran out in the middle of the street while we were shooting. And so
That would have been exciting, though.
No.
Well,
No.
in a vacuum.
Watching a kid getting run down is
Not
really
getting,
dramatic.
almost getting run down.
Okay.
All right.
I have kids. I live
Sure.
in Brooklyn. When people are speeding down the street, it's like there's a scene in Blue Valentine when a car speeds by Ryan Gosling really fast, and he's like, I can't stand people driving. I'm a really slow person. So especially doing speedy stunts in movies, I'm so terrified. But anyway, that's you have a vision for something. And for me, I want to find life in a movie. I want to find it and so I know when I'm making a movie, when I'm just creating an artifice, and when I'm witnessing life, when I'm making discoveries, and I want to make discoveries. And so it's all about for me getting rid of the artifice of filmmaking. The first budget for this movie was $19 million, and they gave me a 33-day schedule. I had $10.5 million to shoot the movie. And I eventually got a 47-day schedule. And how I did that was by getting rid of all of the artifice. Get rid of the extensive lighting package. Get rid of the jib arms, the cranes. Get rid of the Steadicam. Get rid of the dolly. All we really need is a camera, 35mm film stock, Sean Bobbitt's shoulders, and a tripod, and the actors, and the places, and time. What we really needed is time to make those discoveries. So, I didn't, there wasn't any compromise with that. I had enough time, to explore. Still we were working on a kind of a relentless and urgent pace because, this movie is massive. In 47 days, we were, there was no time to relax, no time to rest,
Yeah.
All right, well, that will be it for the first half of our very special video installment with director Derek Cianfrance, because we are going to take a break, And then we are going to talk about some of the very deep spoiler material in The Place Beyond the Pines. You can look for that video after the film opens on. Derek?
March 29th in New York and LA, April 5th. It widens out April 12th. Really, what did he say? April 12th wide. April 12th wide.
We'll be back with that very shortly. Thank you very much. So does Ryan Gosling actually say, "Hey, girl"?
How many women did he
never heard him say that.
seduce? Like just walking on set,
Ryan's a magic person. He seduces everybody.
Yes, he is.
You know?
I want to go to the midnight show. I'm sorry, what?